Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix Fix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Ryan, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a scrolling text effect with no code inside of Wix Studio. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is actually start in Figma. Now, just like every one of these type of tutorials where I start in an external program, you can of course use whatever design software that you use or feel comfortable with, but your steps might be a little bit different. But to start, what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab some text. And I'm going to say create, and I'm going to make it quite a bit bigger actually. So we'll say creating custom gradient text scroll effect in Wix Studio. Something like that should do. And of course you can change the font. One of my favorite fonts right now is Honest or Honest without the H. I don't know how it's pronounced, but I like this font. It looks really cool. And I'm going to make it a little bit bold. Maybe we can even make it a little bit bolder. And we can maybe adjust the line height and stuff like that a little bit better. So yeah, I think this looks pretty good. And now that we have this text, you can see how big it is. We probably don't need it this big. So what I'm going to do is press K on the keyboard in Figma if you're following along. And I'm just going to scale this down. Realistically, I think I want to get this to be like 960, because in Wix Studio, that's typically what I would prefer something to be its smallest size when I want to take up a majority of the screen. So then what I want to do is just go ahead and maybe set the width, create a frame, and I'm going to make this frame like 1,000 pixels. And let's just remove the background color for now. We'll make sure that this text is inside the frame, and we'll center it just like that. And we'll call this one desktop text gradient. Okay. And then for the height, let's go ahead and just set this to like 450. And I think this is going to look really good. The last thing I want to do here is just grab a rectangle, and inside of this, I want to make it the same width and height. So we're going to do 1,000 by 450, and we'll just make sure it is centered. But for the color, what I want to do is set this as our background color. Now I am using this palette right over here from coolers.com or .co, sorry. And I just looked for like a purple color palette. And so what I want to do is have the background color be like this dark color like this. It's kind of green. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you. This is not how it looks on coolers.com. So maybe I'm going to try this color instead. And you know what? Let's make it a little bit darker. You know what? I'm going to carry this over to Wix Studio as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and set this as our color 5. And then what I want to do next is actually just go ahead and with the Alt and Shift key on my keyboard, or Option on Mac, I should say, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this one here. And for this one, maybe we want to create a tablet version. And one thing I will say is I forgot to do, and I'll go ahead and do it here, is I want the rectangle to be in the back. But for tablet, we might want something that's like 720 in size, maybe even 760 for the actual thing. And then maybe we want a little bit taller. Same with the text element. And then for the size of this text, maybe we can do like 92. And we can just kind of make it wrap a little bit more. So yeah, maybe this size is a little bit too much. Something like this can work if you wanted to. And then if you wanted to do a mobile one, you could do that here as well. But I don't want to get too in depth in this. I just kind of want to show you the steps if you wanted to create that. But what we're going to do is we're going to grab both for desktop. We're going to grab both the text and the rectangle. We're going to press these 3 dots up here, and we're going to say subtract selection. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to create this little cutout. So if I zoom in, you can see the gray background of Figma behind the blue. And that's kind of what we're trying to design here. So let's go ahead and do that for this one over here as well. Again, we're going to press this 3 dots here, press subtract selection. Okay, and now that we have both of these, let's go ahead and grab both of them. And I'm going to go over here, and you can export them as PNG if you want, but I'm actually going to export them as SVG and press export. And now with those created, what we can do is now head on over to Wix Studio. And I have just now updated the color. And if we go ahead and check out the site styles real quick, you can see I've already implemented the color palette that we're going to be using today. And I've already created kind of like a blank section at the top and bottom, the same color that we're using over here in Figma. I kind of made it the background here as well. But we're going to be building it in this section here. So the first thing I want to do is let's kind of start with the actual gradient part. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add a container. With this container, I'm going to turn on advanced settings for sizing and make it 100% width. And then send it to the top left. I'm also going to go ahead and turn on advanced CSS grid and split this into 3 different rows. Now, what I want to do with each of these rows is actually set them to be 100 VH. So I'm going to say 100 VH. I'm going to copy it. And I'm just going to do that for each one of these here. Okay, so now we have 3 different rows here that are taking up 100% of our screen. And for this, I am just going to set the background color to white, just so we can easily see everything that we're doing. But the only thing I want to do is in this top and the bottom grid cell, I'm just going to add a container, stretch it, and I'm going to make it our background color. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to bring it down here to the 3rd row. I'm going to paste it in. And I'm just going to stretch it. Okay. Now for the middle row, we're going to add a container. We're going to stretch it. And for this one, we're actually going to add our gradient. So we're going to come over here to the color background. We're going to select gradient. We're going to leave it as linear, but we're going to make it 180. And now we can go ahead and start designing our gradient. The first thing that I want to do is here in the middle, I want it to be kind of like our light color. Okay. And we'll try to position this right in the middle. Next, what I want to do is go ahead and grab like a darker color. And I want to do that on the other side of this light one as well. Okay, and then if we grab the endpoints and select these colors, we're going to set these to our black. And just like that, we have a really nice, pretty gradient. So when we scroll through with the text, it's going to look really, really nice with this gradient here. But now what I want to do is actually grab the main container here, and we're going to press the 3 dots here and we're going to hide it. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to kind of work specifically on the new container containing our text. So in the layers panel, I just want to go ahead and name the hidden layer as our gradient, just so we know that that's there. What I want to do is now add another container. Now with this container, what I want to do is apply a CSS grid. But for this one, I want there to be 3 columns and 3 rows. So we're kind of splitting it into a 3x3 box. I'm also going to turn on advanced settings for the sizing and just make this 100% width. For now, I'll set this to 100 VH in height. And I want to add our kind of background media. So I'm going to go to media, upload, and I'm going to add those SVGs that we just exported from Figma. And I'm just going to drag those in. And since we're working on the desktop one, let's grab the desktop one here. We'll add it to the page. Now, what I want to do with this first is actually go over to Figma. And let's grab this box here. And we're going to see that we made it 1000 by 450. So back in Wix Studio, what I want to do is go ahead and set the width to 1000 by 450. And by doing that, it's going to make our SVG the perfect size that we wanted it. And then I'm just going to lock the aspect ratio. Then what I want to do is make sure it is in the middle row here. And I'm just going to center it just like this. But make sure it's in the middle. Then with this container here, what I want to do is go ahead and set the left and the right columns to auto. Then what I want to do is go into the rows, and I want to set the top and the bottom to auto as well. And then for this one right here, I want to go into the advanced settings, and I just simply want to turn on minimum width to 1000. So So that way it can never get smaller than what it is. However, it can get bigger. Okay. And while we're here, we might as well go to the section and turn off apply max width. That way it can just continue to grow with the user's device. But now that we have this set, what I want to do now is with this container selected in the rows for the middle column, let's set this to max width. And then for the row, we're going to do that here as well. So we'll say max content. Now what we need to do is go ahead and fill the other areas around this with containers. So what we're going to do is just grab a container here. And what I like to do is just stretch this across and stretch it. Okay. And then for the color, we're just going to make this our background color. Now I want to duplicate this, unstretch it, and we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the bottom as well. Awesome. We'll duplicate it again, unstretch it. For this one, now we're going to send it over here to this grid cell. So I'm going to stretch it here. I'll send it to the top, and then using the shift key on the keyboard, I can then make it stretch the full thing here in the inspector panel. Let's go ahead and duplicate this one last time. But for this one, we're going to send it over here and make it stretch this. Yeah, let me go ahead and unstretch it, then restretch it. And that should work. Okay. So now we have this container, and you can see the background is still like the, I guess, the original color of the container. So if we grab this container, what we can do is remove the background color. Okay, so now you can see it's white. But the next thing we need to do is actually make sure that this container kind of stays in place. So what we're going to do is come down to position. We're going to set this to sticky, and we're going to leave it at 0%. The last thing we need to do is we need to come over here to our layers panel. We need to re-show the gradient. Now the text is going to disappear, right? And that's because with the gradient, we've separated it into like a regular black section, the gradient, and then another black section. Okay, so with this text gradient that we have here, which let me just name this section. Text gradient, perfect. With this being sticky now, when we preview the website, it's going to scroll past the gradient and then scroll back into the black, and it's going to look really, really nice. So let's just go ahead and test this out. Let's go ahead and press preview, and let's just scroll down. And you can see how well that looks. That looks really cool. And now we're at the bottom of the website. And then if you want the gradient to last a little bit longer, that's a pretty easy fix. All you have to do is grab the gradient box, and then just make this middle part, or the middle row, the gradient part, even longer. And just like that, the gradient is lasting a little bit longer. But now, again, I'm not going to show you mobile, but let's just go ahead and check out how to do this for the tablet breakpoint. So what I'm going to do is come over to tablet. And again, I'm going to go ahead and just hide the gradient color, just so we can kind of see what we're doing here inside of this one. Now, if you wanted to, you could just simply make this one smaller. So for example, maybe we make this one max of 720, and it does something like this. Now, of course, you're gonna have to maybe resize the gradient a little bit to like 324. And then with this, just make sure that there's no margin or anything applied anywhere. But you'll kind of have to like play with it a little bit to make sure like you don't have like the white parts clipping on the sides. So that can be a little bit annoying to kind of play with, but it is fine. It works. I'm going to name this one in the layer panel as desktop. And then what I want to do is I want to add a new image here. So I'm going to come over here, go to site files. Let's grab our tablet one. We are going to put it over here, make sure it's in the correct grid cell. And then we'll do Command Option to attach it on all breakpoints. Perfect. And then in the layers panel, let's go ahead and name this one tablet. And for the tablet one, let's go back over here, and we're going to see we set this to be 764,585. Okay. So let's grab this. We're going to set this to 764,585. Boom. And just like that, we have this done. We can lock the aspect ratio. Let's turn on advanced settings, and we're going to set the minimum to 764. And then we can grab the desktop one. Let's just go ahead and hide it. I think I kind of messed this up. What is this? 764.585. So what I'm going to do is turn off the advanced settings. 764.585. And I forgot to undo these, so let me do that. Perfect. Then we'll lock it. Then we'll make sure it's centered here. Then we can turn on advanced settings. And then just make sure the minimum is still 764. And then if you want, if you're still getting some of the white parts that you don't want to see, one option that you could do is grab the vector art. And since we have a lot of space around the edges, what we can easily do is just set a negative margin, so -5 pixels. And we can do that for the bottom as well. And if need be, we can also do that for the sides. So now if we go ahead and re-show the gradient here in the layer panel, and we preview the tablet version of the site, here is going to be the tablet version. And it's pretty easy to do here for tablet as well. But that's basically going to wrap it up for today's video. If you all did enjoy, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more Wix Studio content coming out really soon. Thank you all again, and I will see you on the next one.